Anybody thoughts on Kentucky so far? What you seen on film?
An offense that very talented. Running back Boone Williams that can go all the way. His speed is hard to simulate in practice. He's got and he's a hard guy to contain because he'll start a run one way and stop, reverse course, and come back the other way. So it's a week where leverage is very important because as talented as they are throwing the ball and as good at wideouts as they have, and as well as a quarterback is playing, playing a team like this, it still starts off with being solid versus the run.
How does the rotation change with Diaz being out now at linebacker?
Well, that's a hard blow. Number one on Dez, again, a guy that had fought really hard to come back in. But we've got some flexibility. Dre Ward's a guy that he, two of them have kind of been going back and forth at will linebacker in terms of being able to back up Iniquez. Big blow on special teams. Dez was one of our best special teams players. So it's time for somebody else to step up in one of those roles. So, but that's college football. It's the next man up mentality.
Kentucky seems like it's closer than ever to kind of stepping into that, being a better team, win 4 or 5 SEC games. What do you see as kind of the difference between them that's allowed them to look like to take the next step to be a pretty good team on the offense?
Well, I just see that you see them in the third year of Coach Stoops' program. They're recruiting better. They're recruiting to a system on both sides of the ball. So you would expect them to be, a harder nut to crack, every year, and that's what they've been. They've been getting better and better, and they crossed a big hurdle in terms of winning on the road at South Carolina early in the year. So, like what we're finding with everybody in the West, winning's a habit, and it's something you have to create, and learn how to win games in this conference because it's not easy to do. And then once you learn how to win games, they're still really, really hard to win because there's a good chance the team that you're playing knows how to win games as well. So they're obviously a very highly competitive team and have been, and now they're finding a way to win some of those games.
Toll's had a huge game against State last year. What have you guys seen on film that you have to do against him this year to make that not happen?
Well, it still comes back to the explosive pass play. A lot of those plays were a lot of his yards were on some big-time chunk plays down the field, whether it was getting behind all the coverage or some short throws that turn into long gainers. So that's been a battle cry for our secondary all season of not allowing the ball behind us and not allowing explosive plays. And Kentucky, even this year, they've held true to that. A lot of their points come when they are when they're explosive. And so they've got skill that can go down the field, and I think the best thing he does is throw the deep ball. So it's a big time challenge for our secondary.
JT Grace, one of the leading tacklers on the team this year, and that's stats. But what do you see as a coach that maybe the stats don't necessarily show?
Well, it doesn't surprise me because he's so active, and he's just a very good instinctive football player. Week in and week out, he's learning his assignments and he's learning how to be a disciplined player more and more. He's obviously a very good special teams player, which is where a lot of those tackles come as well. He's just a guy that always finds a way to find to get around the ball. Very fast, not big in stature, but as tough as anybody we have, and as physical of a tackler as anybody we have. So the experience he's gotten this year has only helped him. It's only helped his confidence. He's a guy that is learning the accountability of doing the little things well. You know what I mean? That really, not just, okay, you're talented so you can make a play, but can you be the dependable guy to not allow negative plays to happen for our defense? And the more he gets comfortable with that, the more his role will increase.
Kind of the same with Jamal Graham trying to learn the cornerback position as he switches from wide receiver. What have you seen from him this year that shows that growth has continued?
Well, the number one thing I see is his tackling. Because the first skill for a defensive back is, how does he cover? Who cares? If he can't tackle the guy, he can't play, because if you miss a tackle, he's going to score. And as he's gotten in these games the last couple of weeks, he's been aggressive. He's been running through contact and become a sure tackler. And the more he does that, the more then he can play, because he is blessed physically with speed and change of direction and all the things that we felt like could make him a contributor to the team at corner. But he had been taught his whole life to run from contact as opposed to running to contact. So as he's getting more comfortable with that, I think his reps will definitely increase.
Talk about the play lately, I guess, the last few weeks of Jonathan Calvin at that defensive end position and how he's gotten more productive in that rotation.
Yeah, I think Jonathan Calvin has flashed the last couple of weeks. I think he's by far had his best 2 weeks of the season. The last two, I think he's getting more comfortable with just the speed of the college game, making that jump. He, again, I would classify as one of our tougher football players. will run through contact. You know what I mean? Doesn't stop his feet. Just very strong at the point of attack, and those are all skills that are very valuable in the position that he plays, and they're starting to flash because where some guys hesitate, because they're not sure, he doesn't. He's the one that wants to run through the wall, and because he's doing that, he's becoming more and more productive. But the neat thing is that he plays with a very high motor, and a lot of his tackles he's turning and chasing the ball down the field, and contributing to the team that way. So he's another guy I think you'll start to see more and more of.
I think